is 6:30. I will call the meeting to order. First up, modifications and changes to the agenda. Is there anything to add tonight?
We don't have anything to add. I don't know if we want to do it right off or other business. We do have a couple folks who are going to pop on. Sean and Madeline from the Northwest Regional Planning Commission just talked about the hazard mitigation, and then Abby said Margot
Hazard
Margot.
mitigation for what?
For the village.
for the village. We'll get there.
Margot is going to be hopping on around 7.
Margot who?
Long way.
Oh, okay. It's
I told her
more-
I'd sneak her in under other business for an event that they would like to hold in the village.
So Madeline's on now. I can ask her if she wants to stay on or hop off or.
Yeah, no, we can do that first.
Sure.
Okay. So I don't know if Sean's coming on as well.
Okay, so we're gonna add.
He
in-
should be on, so we can wait for him if possible.
Okay.
Okay, we'll fit it in there somewhere.
It's going to be quick. We're basically just something we're going to start working on. The village should have one. I guess it was started, never went anywhere, so we're going to complete it. And then I will add some more colored content when we talk about the two houses across the street.
I
Okay.
noticed they're all still there.
All right. Public comment. Nobody here from the public. So we move on to review and approval for the minutes of September 12th. How they looking?
They looked fine.
Okay.
I read them twice in case I had to go back to my old job.
If nobody found any errors or omissions, I will hear a motion to accept.
I'll move.
Second.
As the first, Sandy with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay. Next, Quincy allocations and set a date for completion for the work. So if I understood that correctly, they're putting in a separate apartment.
It is a separate building with 2 apartments in it and garages underneath.
The allocation you guys approved last meeting, we just need, typically when you approve it, you have to say how long they have to pay. Usually it's within 2 years of approval or prior to connection. So that's the piece we missed in the motion last week. So Lori needs that in writing so that we have some leverage. Not that.
So the allocations are good for 2 years on approval.
So you approved it last meeting, so now we just need you to kind of modify the approval stating that it's approved and needs to be paid either within 2 years of approval date or prior to connection, whichever comes first.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds simple enough. I'll hear a motion to, I don't know what word this, amend the motion to amend the allocation that we passed last meeting, to put payment within 2 years from the motion or prior to hookup, whichever comes first.
I move.
Leonard with the first, second.
I'll second.
Kelly with the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed, nay.
I don't think it'll be done for a while.
Yeah, probably not this year.
I'm gonna go out and shoot them when they cut down the tree anyway. Maple out back, over 100 years old.
Big one.
Looks like it's gonna go.
How many buckets?
How many buckets could you put on that tree? Quite a few.
A lot of trees.
Sean and Madeline on, do you want to
They
Yeah, let's
could've-
see them in
they could've
right
found a way
now.
to work around it. They
Okay.
did twice.
So I'll give you a
the
quick
lines.
backdrop, then I'll have Sean and Madeline hop on as well. So again, a hazard mitigation plan was started, I think, in like 2018 or something for the village, and then kind of got put on hold. Thankfully, through the FEMA process we're going through for last winter's storm, we haven't been asked for it. But and when we get to it, we did get the award grant for the 2 houses from the state. But the request is to get that grant, we have to have this hazard. We have 1 year to show a completed hazard mitigation plan.
Oh, that makes sense.
So because Sean had started it, we've asked him to kind of get back on the train, and sounds like between Madeline and Sean, they're gonna work together on that. So I don't know if Sean or Madeline have anything.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay. I had problems with teams, connecting with teams.
Just hold still.
I hate teams. Personally, but personal issue. So I'm Sean Coleman with Northwest Regional Planning. I'm a senior planner. This is Maddie Yando, and she is one of our project managers, our only project manager at Regional Planning. We did start the process of a hazard mitigation plan for the village of Enosburg Falls around the time, I think it was before the pandemic, and the plan had been to a point where we had submitted it to the state for their review and comments. While they had it, the pandemic hit. I think it was the Halloween storm that affected most of Franklin County. So we were involved pretty heavily with recovery and everything. And then the pandemic hit shortly after, well, a couple months after that. Then so the mitigation plan kind of went into limbo land. This happened with the town of Isle Lamont as well. We did get comments back that we discovered from the state about some recommendations what to do to the plan. So overall, I think the plan is in really good shape, and it shouldn't take a lot of work to do. The unfortunate thing is that FEMA has changed what their requirements are for what should be in a mitigation plan, which so it'll require a little bit of additional work. And so the new rules replace the old rules that we used to develop the last plan. So we've got a couple more new rules we got to work with, but I think we could work through it pretty easily. Probably get it done in a few meetings and have it submitted for the FEMA review in a couple months. The review process usually takes a while, so we'll just hold tight. Once we get it submitted, though, I believe that the town should be in a good place to be able to apply for mitigation funding once we've updated it. The town has a joint local emergency management plan with Enosburg Town. This is a hazard mitigation plan. So the plan is all about, for those of you that don't know what a hazard mitigation plan is, it's about all the steps the municipality can take to prevent damages from disasters. We use some of the information that was captured during the Veery project. I met with John Elwell, and I can't remember the other people in the village at the time in updating the plan when we did the first round of the plan. Having a mitigation plan will also help the village with recouping some funds following a presidentially declared disaster. If you have, the state has an emergency relief assistance fund, ERAF, that's available to municipalities that reduces the amount of match that they would have to pay following a federally declared disaster. So there's 4 requirements: having an emergency management plan, having a hazard mitigation plan, having road codes and standards, and being a member of the National Flood Insurance Program. And if you have all 4, then it cuts the 25% match from recovery or from public assistance funding. So all the funding that the village would have paid to repair damages, FEMA will reimburse you for 75%, and then the state will pick up 12.5%, and then the village will pick up the other 12.5%, because you'll have met all 4 requirements. So that's an added bonus as well for the village, if they're ever part of a federally declared disaster, and the way things are going, the odds are pretty good that it'll happen again. So that's kind of the long and short of it. I think that at the next meeting, the next trustees meeting, we'll probably, we're hoping to have the former plan that you had a little updated and send it out to everybody to look at to give you an idea and hoping to have myself or Maddie give you kind of an overview on mitigation planning process, and maybe have the village recommend who might be on, or you could do it tonight even, recommend who might be able to help in updating the plan. FEMA's really big about the process and getting as many people involved as possible and as many groups as possible. I know we have a hard enough time just getting people to come out for municipal plans and all the other plans that we do. So, you know, we'll try to get as many people in as we possibly can, but it is what it is. Hopefully that, you know, will meet their requirements. We'll hear back from them. So I think with Isle of Mont, they were kind of, I'm using that as a reference because they were in a similar boat with you. 3 months, I think we were done. They were using the old rules, and again, like I just think with updating the new plan, the current plan with the new rules, you could probably get it done in that time as well. So that's kind of the long and short of it. Are there any questions?
I don't think so.
Great. So, John, I'll give you a call soon, and maybe set up, you and I and Maddie can meet sometime between now and the next trustees meeting. And we'll get rolling on some of the planning.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
everybody, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. We want to do rec?
We can do it.
Margot's on.
Margot, are you ready to roll if we can now?
I'm here, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I don't know if you guys have anything, do you just want me to jump in and start talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, I know you guys are familiar with our Spark grant we were to do on the crosswalks, using some of that funding. So we're just looking at other avenues to use that funding. It's specific for art, and spreading art for the village and the town. Sorry, a dog's barking at a squirrel.
Get him.
And so one of the things that the students asked for in a survey we did was chalk art along in the village. So in an effort to make sure it's appropriate and supervised, we decided we'd do a couple events per se. So we want to call it Chalk the Village. And there's 2 different dates that we're looking at. One date will focus on the school and school spirit. So it'll be with the after school program. We'll coordinate with them, the middle and elementary school. So we're looking at October 4th from 3 to 4. And they will, we'll provide the chalk and they'll provide the students, and do chalk art along School Street and Dickinson Ave. And that will focus on school spirit. And then the other date we're looking at is October 14th. It's a Saturday from 11 to noon. And that one we want to focus on more a community-wide event. So we have 4 locations we'd like to spread the art out in, given we have enough volunteer support. The library is willing to collaborate with us. They will provide a few staff members to go to a few locations. So we were considering in front of Maple Park, around Lincoln Park, kind of the sidewalks in front of the storefronts on Main Street, and then possibly near the Opera House, in front of the Opera House on Depot Street. So those were kind of our 4 locations. Again, it depends on enough volunteer support. As long as we have people to kind of cover all those locations, we'd like to kind of spread that out throughout the village. So that's kind of my spiel.
Is it going to be just the sidewalk, or roads, or and buildings, or just sidewalk?
Just the sidewalk. Yeah, just the sidewalks.
The kids did it once before, several years ago, and it was beautiful. They did a fabulous job. Made the village look a lot better. And as soon as it rains, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, no, that sounds like
Love
fun.
it.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
I think you get the
Okay,
nod,
cool.
the nod from us. I don't know if you need a formal motion or not. Don't think so.
Okay, perfect. Cool. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you. Have
you.
fun.
Thanks. Bye.
Look at the hair.
Yeah.
Can braid it already.
He actually lost a little, believe it or not.
Well, they rub it off.
All right, where were we? Line of credit for light department.
Thank you.
Looking at some upcoming projects and loan payments, just looking at the overall big picture for the light department right now. The cash flow is still tight. So the thought was, rather than continuing to try to do an interfund loan with a wastewater, that we would look at a line of credit with People's Trust. I asked about a $250,000 line of credit, and they could do an interest rate of 2% locked in for the first year. Still kind of negotiating the terms of the line of credit, because I'd like it to be a revolving line of credit, so whenever we have big projects, with some examples of some stuff that we have coming up, or we need to flip and repair the trash racks to the hydro, and we also need to dredge the tail race of Village 1 hydro. We do have some more repairs coming down the line regarding the leaks that are underneath the powerhouse, and we need to do inspections of draft tubes and penstock tubes. So we do have a lot of stuff coming up in the next year or two that needs to happen, and this would help relieve a lot of the cash flow kind of issues at this point, so we can draw off of that when needed.
Sounds like a cost of doing business to me.
Unfortunately, we're gonna have to look at something, because we do have some big dollar projects coming up that we just,
Can't do stuff without money.
right, so we'd be looking at a loan anyway, but this gives us a little more flexibility, and then we can capitalize on it all, either as one loan, or, that's what I'm trying to negotiate the terms with People's Trust right now.
All right, what would it be after the first year, prime?
No, they're pretty good to us. I can't imagine we'd go much, I would stay between 2 and 4. Pretty comfortable stating that. They haven't actually said that, but given the rates that they've given us on everything else, I'm
Yeah, they're
pretty
pretty
confident to say we wouldn't go over.
I think they're happy to have us.
Yeah, they are really good, because they tailor a lot of stuff to what our needs are. We can basically spell out what we're trying to do, and they kind of brainstorm on how they can make it work, but still stay within their guidelines as well.
Sound
Right.
like they make good partners.
So in order for me to move forward, everything's kind of at a standstill. I do need trustee approval. They need to have it documented if you guys are in favor of doing this.
Of kind of exploring the line of credit. Well, I'm assuming that we'll have to approve the final terms when they come out.
Yeah, just to approve a $250,000 line of credit, and then once I get the final terms, I'll come back and you guys can do the final approval, but they need an approval to move forward.
I will hear a motion to pursue a $250,000 line of credit for the electric department through People's Trust.
I will make that motion to pursue that $250,000 line of credit.
Sandy was the first, Leonard had the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for all the work you've obviously done.
Formal request for Elm Street wastewater and water bond vote.
You wanna get
So-
started?
You
Okay.
want-
You
you
like
do that
first,
part?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, part of the CSO ARPA grant funds that we got, that we're going to be putting into Church Street, hopefully in the next less than a month, we'll be started over there. You know, with it, we got about $760,000 of that. That project's estimated about $300,000. So the remaining funds we'll be looking to use towards the wastewater project up off of Elm Street. However, it'd be recommended that we go to bond for the total amount, so the wastewater project and the water line project. The reason why Wayne and Elliott, or Aldrich and Elliott, feels we should go for the whole bond is because I'm just not knowing yet what Church Street's gonna cost. And then there is, if you read number 2 there could be other possible disadvantaged subsidy loans and funds that may come out. So we're going basically for the bond for the whole shebang, but it's probably gonna be closer to 700,000 if everything falls into place properly. We don't have like some extraordinary, our estimates are way off or whatever, or extra costs. So the bond would be for 40 years at 0%. And again, that would be replacing or doing the liner for the sewer from Chainsaw Shop all the way down to Orchard Street, and then replacing the water line all the way down as well.
And they said it's better to ask, so the total bond amount that we'd be going for is 1.6 million. That's the total cost of the project in the most recent numbers. Per, like John said, what Wayne Elliott said and our attorney Eli, because it's such a process to go for a bond, you're better off to ask for more in case something happens. So this is the total cost of the project for the wastewater and the water. The amount that we're actually gonna end up bonding for in the end is whatever the water project costs, like John said, 70,000.
That makes sense.
In that ballpark.
You can't go back and ask for more later, so.
No, we can't amend it later, and it's, I mean, I need a few motions and there's a ton of paperwork involved just to have the bond vote. There is not an election in November. However, if we hold off and do not do the vote until March of next year at our annual meeting, that's gonna delay construction a year.
Ooh.
So my request is that we do a vote on November 7th. It would be village residents only. Understanding that that may cause a lower turnout, but I think we just need to be really good about marketing and pushing this. In order to do that, we have to get the ball in motion tonight. We will also need to hold a special hearing. It's an informational meeting. Right now, in order to do the vote on November 7th, I tentatively put in a date of November 1st. It's a Wednesday at 7 o'clock for the informational meeting. It'll just basically be anybody from the public if they have any questions, comments, concerns on this project. There are a couple specific motions that we need tonight in order to move forward. And then I do have stuff that, if everyone is in favor of moving forward, I have a resolution that I need everybody to sign. So first, I guess before we jump into that, are there any questions, concerns on the bond?
Is that ARPA grant, is that like a refund type grant where you pay for your stuff and they reimburse you later, or they just cut you a check at the beginning of the project?
I believe, didn't I ask that question, and I believe we have to pay and then
Yeah.
they'll reimburse us.
Yeah.
So there'll be
Another
steps.
reason to get the full amount, that way you have the cash reserves.
Correct. Yes.
What kind of vote, ballot for?
The ballot,
Yeah.
it's just this, and it reads, shall general obligation bonds or notes of the village of Enosburg Falls in an amount not to exceed $1,613,000, subject to reduction from the receipt of available state and federal grants and aid, be issued for the purpose of financing the cost of water and sewer system improvements in the area of Elm Street and Main Street, the aggregate estimated cost of all such improvements being $1,613,000. In favor or opposed? So it's a pretty straightforward bond. The other thing, I mean, there's specific stuff that I'll take care of, is just has to be put in the, we will have to put it in the newspaper, so there will be a cost. There's a certain time frame for that, and we have to post it around publicly, a lot like we have to do for annual meetings, so.
Yep.
Glad my hair
Decided
worked.
to join.
Um,
Missed us.
I can pass this down This is the resolution certificate. This needs to be adopted and approved if you all are on board with it. Basically, it states what I just read to you, that it was approved, hopefully at tonight's meeting, the amount, what it's for, and then, again, I feel like it just kind of repeats it, so I can pass that down if you wanna take a look at that. That's also the document. If approved, everyone will need to sign tonight. The other thing that we'll need to go over is a declaration of official intent. This allows the village to reimburse itself from any bond or loan proceeds, so meaning if we're fronting the cost, like you just said, this allows us to take the bond money and pay ourselves back. So we need to have this. We might not need it, we might need it depending upon how the cash flow goes, but this also would need to be adopted tonight. And this, you just have to adopt, and Andy signs off on it, but I'll just pass this around if you just wanna see the language.
So when this is all said and done, will there
Are we
be,
supposed to sign this?
Just take a look at it first, I'll have you sign it after, if it's approved, yeah.
Okay.
so when this is all said and done, we bond for the full amount, and we don't need the full amount, will we have leftover money at the end of the day?
Well,
We
At
just
the
take
end
what
of
we
the
need.
project?
We take what we need, yeah.
And then,
Because we approved the bond on that.
right,
Unless something, it'd only be for that project.
We knew you would.
right, okay, but so we won't have like, we have a 1.6 million sitting in the bank, it only costs us 700,000, and now we have 900 just sitting there.
we would,
That goes.
we would only draw what we need.
Yeah.
And it immediately goes, well, it wouldn't reduce our term, would it? By
No.
giving that,
No.
No, it's a 40 year,
Yeah,
0%
either
term,
what
no
we
matter
borrow.
what.
Yeah,
so even if we only borrow the
yeah, beginning discussion.
774,
Yeah,
Still 40 years.
it's still a 40-year note.
Everything else is
40
all
years, we're
approved.
getting longer and longer.
And I mean, depending on, it would be through the water department. I don't
I
believe
won't have to worry about seeing it through.
typically not penalties if we pay off sooner. So once we get there, we can look at what the term and look at what things
0%
are.
interest.
I don't think I'll make it.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't
right.
want to, but if,
Negotiate that?
Yeah.
10 years, but yeah, so we can always look at all of that.
And yes, the repairs should last well over 40 years. We're
Yeah.
talking 50 to 60 on the sewer, and water should be maybe another 100, like the other water system. But yes, they should outlast the loan.
Yes.
And the other reason why we'd like to do this in November is because, we'll be looking at that local options at the March.
Yeah,
meeting.
no, I think that's a much better idea.
So-
Trying to logistically not convert everybody at once and stuff, so.
Seen it.
And even though it's all good stuff, you hear bond and taxes and mustard and
Everybody likes to when the plumbing works.
Yes, they do, very much so. The big flush is good for everybody. And not good when it isn't.
Up to speed yet, Eli?
I think so. I think I caught up quickly.
So what are we thinking?
I think we need to do it.
Makes sense, let's do it.
Okay, so there's a series of motions that we need to do.
So we need to make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion to adopt bond resolution.
Second.
Leonard and Sandy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Second would be approve the declaration of official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of indebtedness.
I move we approve the declaration of intent.
I'll second.
Dan first, Heather the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, that's unanimous.
And then I'll just have everybody, when we're wrapping up, sign what Eli's reading right now.
And that was just those two? Or do we need motion for informational meeting and all that?
I don't think we need a motion for that, I just need kind of, if everybody's in agreement to stay with the timeline, to go for a November 7th vote. I have it in the document to be up at the EMS building, just because that's where everybody's used to going, and I'll work that out with Andy and with Billy Joe. And then that would put, I did the informational meeting, it's a Wednesday, November 1st at 7 PM. I was thinking we could just have that here, or do you want me to do it at the EMS building in case we get a big turnout?
Well, last time we had an informational meeting, it was kind of, well, I guess it was the annual meeting. It was a larger turnout than expected.
I'd rather have them have too much room than not
Yep.
enough.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so I will get us on the
I
schedule
think
for February.
probably better, yeah. Times on those evening?
7 PM? Is that okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Is there an amount of time we have to have
Has to be 10 days before the vote, within 10 days.
for that day, of the voting day? Is there a certain amount of time we have to have the polls open, or?
I think it's just a normal poll, is doing the 10 to 7.
10 to 7,
Yeah, okay.
And I'll work that out with Andy.
Yeah.
even though 10 is too late.
Yeah, but
For
that's
people
always
that have to
been-
leave town, it's really kind of too bad.
That's always been.
Yeah, it
I
has,
hope that
but,
they can get back into town.
well, and some of them, it depends on how far they have to drive.
Oh,
Can people,
But that was kind of my thought process
Yours?
right now.
Yeah. It
That's
goes
why I
that
don't know
way.
where.
people allowed to vote
Pull that
early on
off.
that?
That should
I'm
work.
sorry,
Can they
what?
vote early on that? Like, could they come in? Okay.
No, it's not an absentee
Okay.
ballot kind of thing. It's just they have to show up that day to vote on it. So, like I said, because there's no other election this year, we do run the risk of a low turnout, but it's also just logistically with everything that we're gonna.
We'll Put it on Facebook 10 times a day.
Yeah, and do we know if the town is thinking about doing anything either? You don't know, or you're sure they're not?
Last I talked to Billy Joe, she said there was
Okay.
no vote on anything, unless that's changed in the last couple of weeks since I talked to her, so.
Well, I was just thinking it'd be good to coordinate because they might be using the same space and.
I'll follow up if we need to adjust the dates a little bit, we can, but I can't imagine it'll be an issue. And this is just village residents only voting on this one.
Yeah, we'll definitely be marketing it.
Yeah. We started to at open house, John
Yeah,
had,
We'd
and we
flyers
have
and-
it posted up front too, so we'll make sure to get the information out there so people are aware of it and hopefully increase our turnout.
Very good. Let's move on to Trout Brook Dam removal
Dam
and
Trout Brook.
visit from various parties on the 19th.
So Lauren just asked that she's gonna be here at the next meeting, I believe, either the next meeting or the meeting after that. But she just asked that I mention real quick.
Yeah, I thought I did too.
But they did come out last Tuesday, there was a whole group of folks. I printed this, I didn't send it to everybody, and I only printed one copy because it's 100 pages, but if you have a hard time going to bed at night, you can read through this.
They sent it, didn't they, on,
We had a-
yeah?
I thought
Oh,
I
did
saw
Did
something.
We
Okay.
got a letter
I might have forwarded it.
that we read, I read,
Yeah, I seem to remember reading something.
Yep.
Yeah, I did
with their
forward it.
recommendations and.
So they're at the point where they've done the initial kind of design, and then what they talked about on Tuesday was just some game plans, like getting excavators and all that type of stuff, and the most non-intrusive ways of doing the work that they need to do. So, and then I filled them in about the solar field and all of that. So, essentially, she's gonna come speak to it all, and at when she comes to speak, it's gonna be like, we're going to final design, we're gonna be looking for that, okay from you folks, and they'll be going to final design to start the process.
Is this still zero cost?
Zero cost to us, yeah, and then, I mean, there might be some added benefits for us, like, they're gonna update, depending on how they get there, because there is an old logging road that comes in this way. I don't know if we can stay on our land and do it, but they may, a good possibility they may update our little road that gets up in there with bigger culverts and stuff. The biggest thing that came out of this was, I mean, it sounds like we're probably gonna be going down that road. The only, I guess, biggest part of it was the dam inspector came from the state. So now we're on the radar. So, you know, he's already, from his quick view, identified some issues. So if we were to ex-nay and say, no, we're good, and sent them on their way, we would be subject to he'd come up and inspect it like every 2 years.
Old bait and switch.
And then
Yeah.
he'll be,
Yeah, and it becomes the dam.
Oh, they're sending the inspector up.
And
Yeah.
before John got there, we kind of tag teamed this whole thing. I went up for a while and he did the site visit, but they just threw some preliminary numbers out that we're talking over $1 million to bring that dam up to where it needs to be if we choose to keep it there.
I know, and that's a dam.
yeah, for a dam we don't use or.
Right, there's no benefit to spending
Yeah.
that
No.
amount of money.
So, of course, they're claiming that if it let loose, it would take out all the village and whatever. So,
Sheldon,
yeah,
everything.
everything would flood from here to
The
Lake
hydro's
Champlain.
up though.
Yeah.
Make the most of it.
So, so that's definitely, I mean, that just to give you a heads up that that did occur that day. So, you know, they, like you said, they did kind of put us in a position. So,
Yeah, that's not.
yeah.
As soon as they said that, I was like, yep,
Not
okay.
quite kosher.
Conversation over, we have to take it out.
Yeah, that's, okay.
Solve that problem.
So she'll be on, I believe she's gonna try to make the 12th our next meeting, if not, it'll be one of the 2 in October. And again, she'll come with a final design and ask for the request to move forward, or it's either move forward or be done at that point at that meeting. So,
I think they already made that decision for us.
yeah.
Yeah. Some vote.
Alright. Anything else on Trout Brook? If not, we'll move on to Main Street time limit parking update.
Yeah.
You got a chance to speak with most people?
So yeah, I pretty much spoke with everybody down Main Street. Couple things did come out of it that I did not, I didn't think of honestly. So I did mark them down here on this slide. So just some of the concerns or thoughts. Employee parking. So between Kelly at the shake shop, the tea or whatever she has there. She'd asked, if we do go to the 2-hour parking, she does come and park there, and it may not be 2 hours, maybe 4 hours, but I guess she does deliveries, she runs kids around, so that was her concern.
She lives 1,000 yards from the building.
The hairdresser ladies actually kind of echoed that a bit, because I guess they park in the alley, but they're not technically supposed to park there, and sometimes there's more of them working than who can park in the alley, so they'll park on Main Street. So they actually kind of had the same comment. They said that it shouldn't be a problem if they got to park around Depot or something like that and walk, because they don't in and out as much. Usually they're there for the duration that they're there.
Yeah, most of the time, if they park out front, it's to bring an elderly and infirm client into the hair salon.
Mm-hmm.
Then they could always move their vehicle and bring it back to pick that same client up.
The lady at the liquor store just asked about special events. I mean, would that be null and void? I mean, we don't really have official enforcement of this, but what would it look like special events? Because she had mentioned for the Harvest Fest that,
A lot of communities have like things that go over the signs that say free parking today.
Yep.
Right.
Or just when the parking sign is covered up, you know that is no
Well-
longer valid today.
Harvest Fest is on a weekend, right?
it's a Saturday.
Yeah.
So Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 2-hour parking. This would be
That's when the biggest part of the problems are occurring, because it's employees that are parking in front of businesses all day.
It might be like Dairy Days might have an issue because they're Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday.
So actually, Sherry, who is the property manager for Champlain Housing for the main block there, she didn't realize that we were having this conversation. She had just emailed me asking me about parking as well, and just echoed that same comments that the liquor store lady had, because it sounds like the supervisor union is definitely taking up. I guess there's some meetings that come in, there's days there could be 30 people there, or 10 or 20 more,
And
or
are
whatever.
They unfortunately lost at least 15 parking spots at the Opera House parking area.
Right.
Which the town is now saying is not a parking area anyway, and isn't gonna be.
So,
Maybe they should reach
um,
out to community members.
Yeah.
and then I talked to Ken, you know, if we went through and put signs at every spot, or, you know, every few spots, there's one of these signs, he didn't feel there'd be an issue with plowing or anything like that. He didn't have an issue there. And then the other thing I guess I didn't even think about, again, the hairdressers brought this, the ladies at the hairdressers brought it up, was safety. I guess, I don't know for sure, but I guess there's some activity sometimes in between the parking lot of the bank and Vaughn's. So they try not to park, or if they park back there during the day and they work like a later shift, they'll move back up front before it gets dark, because I guess some of the ladies don't like walking back through that parking lot during the night.
Just one more thing we need to clean up.
Yeah,
Whose
so.
parking lot is that? Thanks.
The bank has a bunch of spots, and then I haven't asked Vaughn yet. I don't know if Vaughn has.
Shared, Vaughn has part of it, it's
Yeah.
just shared parking lot.
Yeah.
So private, not
I think so, no, I think it's
not,
private
it's
parking lot.
private parking lot. The bank, so I did stop at the bank too, and they said the same thing, that there's times that their lot, they just will show up to work, and whoever's parked back there was
The
parked.
hotel is still,
So
open
in their
to
spots, their designated spots, so
FNC.
they will have to
To park
park
there.
on the side street or.
not that I know of.
So yeah, that was basically kind of what I got from everybody. You know, everybody was on board with it, liked the idea. I talked to Ben, talked to the Hazes, talked to pretty much every Bees Flowers, talked to everybody, and they were all for the 2-hour parking.
Even the ones that were concerned about their employees parking?
They were still for it. They were concerned about what they would do, but again, they would rather see the spaces be.
Well,
Oh yeah, they could
Take
just
some
move,
space,
I
and
mean,
that's
Kelly
one
could
less space
just
for
move
customer.
100
Right,
feet
yeah, you're not gonna want them out
to a
front
spot
anyway,
that isn't
business
timed
owner.
parking.
Susie
You
has.
know, people are just so afraid.
Hi Susie.
Hi Susie.
Oops, hi, sorry. I was trying to chat earlier, but I couldn't chat with anyone, it didn't answer any questions, but, you feel this is sparked because of the FNESU or Bumblebee, or what has sparked the concern?
So Tim Smith had come to us last meeting saying that some of his commercial space folks were having issues with access to their stores. And it sounds like some of the FNSU people were parked in those spots during meeting days, or some of the folks that may not go there every day don't know, so they park right in the front. And they'll be there from, I guess, 8 till 3 or something, pretty much all day long.
And they don't feel like they can manage it when they have somebody come in for meetings, tell them they're prohibited from parking on the main street? And if they did, would that resolve the issue, or there's still an issue beyond that situation?
I think there's still other issues. A couple things that were brought up, especially like in front of Bees Flowers, in front of Ben's shop, because they're kind of straight and long. A few spaces there. They've had some folks
Yeah.
come in with trailers, like ATVs on some trailers, or even other trailers come and park for a few hours. They don't know what they're doing, but so they're taking up 2-3 spots.
You know, the other day, there was a bus-sized camper that was in one of those Main Street spots for about 7 hours.
Yeah.
The size of a commercial bus.
So they don't know per se what these folks are doing. It's not an everyday occurrence, but they've seen that too, where these bigger vehicles are coming in, parking and taking up 2-3 spaces. And so now they can't park, and they can't even be seen from the road.
Well, the reason I ask is because I've advocated very advocated very hard for that project there, and it's very discouraging to think that they can't manage what they said they could manage, and it doesn't seem to be like it should be a hard fix to manage it. So there's some disappointment there.
So,
Sandy's always advocated, and I've seen it all along, that the owner shouldn't park in front of their business because then they're taking up a customer's parking spot.
Yep.
And not being able to, is this something that that John, something you could write a ticket for, or is that gonna have to go through our non-existent sheriff department?
Me either.
Do we have the ordinance?
We would have to
We have to
amend the
update the
ordinance.
ordinance, right?
Yeah, I did print, I didn't copy for everybody, I did print it out.
Yeah,
Notice.
any agent of the village, any approved agent is how the ordinance reads.
So what I told the business owners
Okay.
would be, for starters, again, not knowing our sheriff's coverage at times, is, again, it was, if it's the folks that might be there all night. So it doesn't sound like they're too excited if a car's there 2-4 hours. But if a car's there all day and/or if it's there all night. Which, like, again, ironically, I think what also brought this up was one of the tenants at the Pearly Block had parked for about 2 days in front of B's Flowers. Because they had 2 vehicles. They have 2 vehicles. So again, I think that's what also brought this to everybody's
Okay.
attention.
Great. I was just curious how this came about. It's pretty exciting for me. Pull out on Main Street and see it so busy during the day. Sorry about the parking, but it's great to see all those people there, really look hopping.
It's been really busy in the village the past couple days when we go out at lunch. It's
Been
like
very busy.
insane. You can barely, I went to the bank at like 1 o'clock today and it took me like twice as long to drive down Main Street.
Yeah, good thing.
What about Paul Golden, the rooms upstairs, is somebody rents your room? They have no.
they have a back parking lot.
They do?
There's
Yeah.
a back parking lot there.
I thought
Yeah.
that was only for the people in the apartments.
No, he owns a good-sized chunk in the back of the parking lot where his guests, if he had guests, could park, and where his 1 or 2 tenants that he has park.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he built the whole entrance for that.
Yeah.
I'm talking the Main Street,
The old Ben Franklin store. Yeah.
not the old parts of the building.
No.
There's
By the cemetery.
right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, 'cause the parking garage is Champlain Houses, right?
Right, but next to that, before the side cemetery fence, Paul has a parking lot.
So what I'm curious is all the parking completely being taken up though? Or is it just that it's the very specific in front of those couple of businesses?
Again, I mean, the liquor store felt there was times where it was pretty busy. I mean, I agree a little bit, Susie, it's hard because you do, the hustle and bustle of the village is nice to see it and.
Unfortunately, we have more, with the new building, as wonderful as it is, we have more people that want to park than we have spaces for them to park. So they're just gonna go wherever they can go.
And
In the Opera
I
House.
do think the restaurant is added the busiest too. I noticed when Bistro finally opened, Main Street seemed to get a little bit more busier as well.
But they have School Street, and they have the other side of the park, and they have down toward the harvest markety thing there.
The park, I think, says 15-minute parking.
The park is?
Part of the park.
And I watched a young girl this
Pretty sure
morning
it's 15
park her car in front of the 15-minute parking sign, take her backpack and head to school.
Yep.
I mean,
I think that side's 15-minute in the backside.
if you want to look at this, we do have an ordinance, no person shall stop or park any vehicle or motor vehicle or any non-motorized vehicle, camper, trailer, boat within the limits of any street for more than 24 hours unless a shorter time is specified at that location. Any such vehicle shall be regarded as having been stopped or parked in the street for 24 consecutive hours if it's parked in the street at any time during a given day unless such vehicles moves from the street for a period of 12 consecutive hours during such a day. So we kind of already have.
So we've got the
something-
teeth already.
Yeah, we do have something for 24
You
hours.
just need the signs to go with the teeth.
Would we just have to update for schedule of fines or?
Well, I think we'd have to just update this, because it says section 4.4, that was 4.15, 4.14. The trustees may determine the length of time which vehicles may be parked on public highways or streets within the village. Signs shall be posted in the places advising of operators of these limits. No person shall park a vehicle upon any street or parts thereof described in the following schedule no longer than the period posted time limit. And it says both sides of School Street, along Lincoln Park, and both sides of Main Street, depot to school.
So those are the areas that we can put
Time limit on, so it's already been in the ordinance, so then
okay.
you just
So-
add 2 hours.
So obviously it's been a problem, or it's been considered
Yeah,
for a while.
now this is, I believe this was 95.
Yeah.
That's the last time
I came down this summer and, all the parking spots weren't taken and the liquor truck was stopped on Main Street, so there was one-way traffic. He had nowhere to park.
That's where he parks every time he comes.
Yeah, that's normal.
Where they
It's
do
the only way he
deliveries.
can park anymore.
Oh, that's a
I
normal
haven't seen him
thing?
in the travel lane though.
Well, unless there's absolutely nobody parked on that entire section of the street, he has to park in the traveled lane.
Yeah, because they were, this had come up probably 5 years ago, they were complaining because the delivery trucks got bigger and they couldn't make the swing
Yeah.
back into this.
Well, and then the parking lot that's in the back, when the garage was built next to the old fire station, then they couldn't use the loading dock out there anymore, and trucks were prohibited from going out there.
Yeah.
So then they had to start parking in the street.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So can something
Which
be
we
done
let
about
get
that
built.
garage that was
A
built?
little late now.
Too late now?
Yeah, a little late now. Should have happened before it was built.
Either way, what do you guys think about the parking limit?
I think it's an issue and we need to do something.
Are we thinking a certain amount of spots? Are we thinking the whole block? Are we thinking,
You could do it. There's what, 2 spots in front of the hairdressers? Or 3?
Again, you already have both sides of Main Street, depot to school. And it's already in the ordinance, and you can set a time to that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all the spots.
No, and other than a 2.5 hour perm,
Well, that's what I was just thinking, if we didn't do the 2 spots in front of the hairdresser and did the
But
rest
you've
of
got
them.
a
Where
restaurant,
else?
you've got a restaurant right there too, though, I mean.
yeah, but seriously, are you gonna go to lunch and sit there for 2 hours?
If you have
Hopefully
a,
not.
if you have a big group of people though, I mean,
so if we do like 3 spots on either side of Bismarck and across the street, the whole Pearly block in front of Patton.
You're gonna do Bismarck?
No,
No.
no.
on either
Oh,
side.
on either side of
Like
the
just
entrance
the
to Bismarck.
Like the 3 in front
Yeah.
of the bank, and then like headed towards Garcia, probably not that far.
Yeah, there's only a couple in front of the bank to Garcia's, because on the corner,
Yeah,
there's
there's
the
a
striped
fire-
lines, and then there's a fire hydrant.
Which is funny, because when I was walking to the hairdresser, it kind of clicked in my brain. I mean, it doesn't take me long to get a haircut, but I know like my grandmother used to go for 4 hours. I'm like, I don't know what she did there, but
Probably had
But
blueberry.
that would
she did,
leave
she had the old
spots
plastic
in
thing.
proximity, close proximity to those places that people could still park for
Yeah.
extended periods of time.
Yep.
Yep.
Just like on the 3rd spot and say no parking, or 2 hour parking here to corner, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Something simple like that.
Sounds plenty fair.
Yeah.
See,
It'd
and
be
then see how
fair.
that works, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
People
this-
don't read the signs that are there now, or they're gonna read those.
Is this
Probably
something
not.
that you want implemented now, or to wait until next year when we can actually budget money for it, since we haven't budgeted, and signs are probably $200-300 a piece,
yeah, hopefully they're not that much, but yeah,
they are.
let's do that, and that's why I'm thinking, just do one, because it's street corner, not every single spot has its own, because that's gonna add up.
So do it now, or wait until.
Budget for it
Budget
now,
for it
and
for
then
next
we'll probably
year.
have to buy them next
Okay.
year, yeah. That sounds good to everyone.
Sorry, we're in budget season, so my brain
Well, yeah,
goes
no,
there
that's-
right off.
Maybe by then we could convince the owners of that old barn that's out there to knock that down and create some extra parking. There's part of the problem right there. You know, the land that belongs to the Bonks, but if they had agreed in the very beginning to knock that barn down, would have solved a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep.
part in there.
Yeah.
It's really kind of sad that just busyness will do that.
So for this year, we're done. The budget for next year, signs and so forth.
Yep. Should we do, I don't wanna make things complicated, but do the parking, no parking here to corner on Bismarck side. But on the other side, there's not really a corner unless you go intersection to intersection.
Maybe we could do no parking between signs and have a sign on each end.
There you go,
Yeah.
done, figured it out. So that'd be four signs, 4 poles. Yep, okay, manager's report.
Extended parking at Napolis.
Sure. Come on up.
Be good for people to get a walk.
Good luck with that one.
So open house, we did have our open house last Saturday. It was successful. We were down a few folks. We were hoping to have a few more. From last year, we were actually down a little bit for numbers, but I think it went well. Abby, we pretty good participation by everybody on the team.
Did you give away your food? You always give away your food.
We gave away cookies, we had
There
punch.
you go. If most of the cookies and the punch went, it was a success.
Yeah, we had a lot of good giveaways. Eli donated, and we raffled off the toolboxes, and so we had some good raffle prizes.
Had some really adorable little kids come too, just gotta throw that out
My
there.
son loved the wastewater tour. He thought it was so good.
My
Budding
kids really
engineer.
like it. I brought my kids both down a couple times and they really liked it too.
Yeah, it was neat.
A lot of people
Well,
come
things
back
like
from
that
there very.
fascinate children.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
The bugs and then the muffin monster thing over
Oh,
here on the
yeah.
side of the building. How's
Yeah.
that called? They like that too. That's always a big hit.
Dirty water fountain, clean water fountain.
And we did have, I mean, again, that's why, it's a good turnout. We were just hoping to have more folks so we could talk about the local option tax, about the bond, the 2024 projects. You know, we're just hoping to have some more folks.
Maybe we should have more than one a year.
We were thinking about down to 2.
You're not gonna get staff on board for that.
Did you do a poll about
Make us do it.
the tax?
We didn't have
We didn't
a lot of
have.
village residents.
Yeah, that's the thing too. We had a pretty good turnout, but a lot of them were not. They're either tourists coming through. My in-laws came up.
We had a lot of electric customers, but that lived
Yeah, they were in
outside.
town.
Yeah, we had somebody had wondered about like having like a booth or somebody at one of the booths like telling people to go down because it's like, you know, for young kids it was like a wonderful touch a truck event, right? For older people it was
I mean, I don't know if they didn't,
Learn
but I
about
know Daniel had a booth and he was sending folks, and so wasn't Katrina, the one that owns the bakery.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, she was also, might have slipped her mind at times, but she was
Yeah,
also gonna try to
There were
send
some
folks
people
down.
down. Okay.
So,
Susie, did it get promoted at Harvest Fest by some people?
No, I was just gonna say, if you had a poster to put up at the host tent, we would have put one up there.
Oh, that would have made sense,
I know you were doing your own promotion, but maybe, we could do a bubble on the Harvest Fest flyer for next year, if you think, to remind us.
Yeah.
John,
okay.
that says, you know, we did have a bouncy house and a lot of things with kids. We could also put something down there, because they can't bounce forever.
Oh, yes, they can.
And the other thing
Well,
positive,
that was a problem.
Yeah.
the other positive too, I mean, for the folks who are here, I mean, even last year a little bit, we got some negative or comments, which are good, you learn from them, but this year was a very positive. A lot of folks were, you know, they wanted to go talk to the lake guys, very happy about last winter's restorations.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
how quickly they happened, and you know, and a lot of folks wanted to go around and thank everybody for what
Oh,
they've done.
good for the guys.
Yeah.
Good for them.
We had a couple specifically on that, 2 separate groups of people that came from the Bakersfield area, especially during Storm Elliott, said they lost power for 2 hours. There are customers where GMP and VEC were, you know, neighboring up there, were out for 4 days. So they personally wanted to come thank the line crew. So I think the guys
That's
appreciate
great.
that.
Yeah. So a lot of good feedback. I think that was it for the open house. The steam engine was a hit, but a lot of people walked down the bridge. They still like the bridge, so
Should get that thing running.
it's still runnable according to Gary.
Tell them to get the other one running too.
Yeah.
Get that
Big
right.
thunder pumpkin.
Yeah.
A little bit of ether should be all set.
I got cases of that stuff.
So yeah, I'll thank the staff. Everybody was very open to being here in the morning and just taking the Saturday morning to do it all and hang out and did a great job explaining and talking to folks. So
It's kind of what the municipality has turned into.
yeah,
It's kind of a different story.
so
Pretty nice.
updates. So we have closed. We do have keys. I haven't been in yet. I don't know if you guys want to go over and do a tour tonight. Might be a little scary, but
Now let's wait more.
Yeah,
towards
that's weird.
Halloween.
okay.
Not going in that place in the dark.
So we have closed on the house. It's officially ours. We moved all the trees and logs today. So we are. I mean, again, we are gonna get to the point where we're gonna clean up the yard a bit, and then we can discuss what the game plan is going
Already
forward.
looks 10 times better without the tree in the driveway.
Yeah, we want to get the lawn weed whacked down and at least make it look a little presentable out the front lawn, and then we'll
Buy a goat or something.
start
Can we?
start down the process of the rest of the project. I mean, I have talked to a few different folks about grants and so forth. It's hard because it's only a 2-unit. If it was like a 5 or 6 unit, there might be more options out there. And then because it's a municipality, it's harder. If it was privately owned, they have some VRAP funds available, but I'm gonna still look into that for renovations, but we can, again, we probably have to put that as
One day at a time.
as an item here and discuss it as we get in there. Because again, we haven't gone inside to see like really what the damage is yet. So
Yeah,
it's
hazmat suit.
Thursday's project.
Be alright, it's piled up on the ground.
We did get awarded the grant by the state, and again, that's why what sparked the conversation about the hazard mitigation plan. Because again, like Sean said, a hazard mitigation plan is what you're doing now to prevent greater disaster if things happen, floods and so forth, wind events and whatever. So, the request was that we do get that hazard mitigation plan done by next year through FEMA. But so we do have the grant. It is awarded. We have, Abby and I have a meeting in October to sit down. We do a sub-grant committee meeting. We have some documentation we got to get together and get to them. But next steps is because they did kind of a market appraisal dollar amount to come up with the grant funding estimates. But now we have to hire somebody to go in there and do an actual market analysis on the properties and then buy them out. The positive is I've been talking to Chad, the owner, because again, part of those funds go towards helping the other folks move out of the apartment house, which was 32. But he's already got a couple of folks have left, and he's already advised that this is going to be happening. So we're hoping they move on by the time we're done, and we don't have to use those funds to relocate and go through that process. So that's where those are both at. Again, we can't rebuild or anything. Those would just essentially come down. We've got to project manage it. State pays for it all, and it'll be a green space with a couple benches.
I was gonna say, put a couple of benches, turn it into a pretty little park. And
Well, we need a guardrail.
A fence or something.
yeah, it's something for safety's sake.
Yeah.
It can be large, but pretty. Just for safety. But what a difference coming across the bridge and coming into town it's gonna make.
It's gonna make a world of difference.
So that's where we are on those properties. Just giving you a heads up, as part of this project, I'll have to say it's kind of sad, I think, but those 2 big silver maples that are on the corner, they may have to come down for the project.
Part of what project?
So prepare yourself.
Street.
And then ideally
Which
the oak.
corner? Share those 2 big trees that are right
One of
there.
them's already
okay.
dead.
Yeah, they're dying, so it's not a huge deal, but
Yeah, somebody already taken the top off. Must be we did, or they did.
I think it came down.
I think
and
it
then-
came down.
They-
Yeah, I think it came down.
In a storm we
And then we
picked
went
up.
cleaned it up. So we could, in theory, go around them, but it would be, Aldrich and Elliott said it'd be a pretty big expense to go around them. So those trees would have to come down, and then, but we'd also talked about traffic calming through there, so what can we do to go back, and do we replant a couple trees? But then Gary's saying we can't plant them over, because then they'll grow around our lines with brand new lines, we don't want that. So we may have to talk to the homeowner, which again, this is hearsay, back 30 years or whatever it was ago, that they planted those trees, I guess, which I wasn't aware of, but the homeowner planted the trees, not the village, even though they're in the village green space.
Is that, which side of West Berkshire? The Elm Street side? So Granite
Yeah,
Gardens
elm,
It's the two giant
the two big trees that
elm
hang
trees
over
that
there.
canopy
place?
over.
Yeah, one was sad shape anyway.
Not that big oak tree though.
I noticed the words here, the mighty oak.
The big oak tree,
Is that coming down?
no, actually, the plan is the hire, I can't remember what they called it, they had some special term, I don't remember what it was, Abby. They have some special term for a tree specialist that
Oh, yeah.
comes in and figures out how to go around the mighty oak.
Good.
I say that's.
That's one of the oldest trees in the village,
Yeah, it's
and it
protected.
would be a shame.
Isn't it historical?
Probably, I would think so,
believe
yes.
so.
I think
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
well over
Actually,
100 years
I've
old.
heard that.
Historical marker.
And it's the largest and the oldest oak in the village, I believe.
Just
So,
call it oak tree
there,
instead of elm tree.
Yeah,
Yeah, how'd they come up
no
with
elms
that?
left.
so there is, in this huge document, if you wanna read through it, or not this one, the Elm Street one, there is plans to go around that or deviate somehow around the oak tree.
Wonderful.
But they have some group that comes in and studies that, so it doesn't kill the
To
tree.
find the best way to do it. Good. I won't have to chain myself to it after all.
That was threatened a few years back, remember.
I did threaten to do it. I did.
So that's where they stand on the trees. I just figured I'd give everybody a heads up. That's all I have. Does anybody has anything for me?
Thank you, sir.
Good updates there.
You want to mention that? Maybe other business.
Other business?
I've got a couple quick things.
What you got?
Just a quick FEMA update from Storm Elliott. Things are finally moving forward. We were held up for a little bit in hazard mitigation because we were looking to see if we could basically get FEMA to fund for the Boston Post upgrade that we need to do, but because that area wasn't hit, we didn't meet the qualifications, long story short, so.
Elliot was the one that hit like
Christmas.
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 Yep. So that's moving forward. That was kind of holding us up from receiving funds. We should receive, I think it's about $77,000 off from that storm. Our total expense was just under $104,000 for that one storm.
So 25% from this. That's what we were saying earlier.
Better than nothing.
Yeah.
So that's moving forward. Hopefully we get that obligated and get a check here, but my guess is it probably won't be till the first part of next year. Just a quick update on the rate case. Believe it or not, we're gonna get what we asked for. So we were
Everybody else got shot down. So
Everybody
nice
else
job, Abby.
got shot. We're the only ones that haven't got it cut in half so far.
Yeah, we only have the full
So
case.
we went for 14.4%, but we voluntarily dropped that down to 11.68% because we didn't hire the second apprentice position. That was kind of our saving grace because we took that out. So they actually did not come back. We had 2 rounds of discovery. It was pretty good, and they came back in support of it. So we didn't do any discovery, and we have requested that the process be expedited at this point, and they've agreed. So now, as soon as I get the final order, we can implement the new rate. It has to go inside with our billing cycles, so I'm hoping that for the November billings, we'll have the new rate to go out. So
Awesome.
not a huge, it's about $500,000 in revenue next year more, and that'll bring
That'll
our
offset
deficit. That'll make us very close to breaking even. I'm still working with Alan on kind of the spending, and we're really trying to prioritize, and he's gonna be sick of me come this budget because I'm really gonna make him plan for next year.
What our transmission costs go up this year? It was 400, wasn't it?
Yeah, when the transmission went up a lot, and then on that note, our hydro production, we got the most recent CDA bill. August so far has been our best month to date in production. It's about 563 kilowatt hours, 78% of our total production of what we could do. Per month to month basis, it's not the happiest to look at. Of course, we produce the month, so then the offset of what they pay us for it is way down. But in the grand scheme of things, we've already generated more in 8 months than we did all of last year. So the whole bottom line to our transmission, to our CDA, it all comes into play. So
Awesome.
there is a benefit there. And then lastly, this is kind of more for Sandy and Leonard because you guys were not at the last meeting. We are starting budgets. Department heads and I have already met. They're working on their capital plan list, meaning any projects that you want to see done within the village per department. They have a deadline of this Friday to get it to me. If the board can get a preliminary list going October 10th, that trustee meeting, plan on having a quick discussion. I will have at that point the list that all the department heads have put together. A lot of projects we already know about, but just if there's anything else on there. I just don't want to get to the last couple budget meetings and then all of a sudden all these projects come up. So just if you start thinking, if you have an idea, jot it down. I'd rather start with a list that's 10 pages long and then narrow it down to what we can realistically do next year than have ideas for the upcoming years.
You can already write down crosswalk signs for me.
Yeah, that's already on my list too. So.
Do you feel that Pleasant Street needs resurfacing?
I know Gary and Ken have a schedule. I don't know where
From
that's
Champlain
at.
Chevrolet to the Catholic Church?
Yeah, that is a mess.
Mrs. Square Street.
With Missisquoi. So Pleasant we did.
I was like,
Or-
I was that
I'm
bad?
sorry.
Yeah.
It's Mrs. Square.
Mrs. Square
Mrs.
Street.
Square, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The route
Well,
to
put
church.
that
I
on
just
your
want my
list.
street done, that's all.
Put that on your list, Leonard, and we can see where it is in the rotation because last year asked during this time was Ken and Gary put together a list of when we did sidewalks and when we did sidewalks and roads, and then we can kind of see the rotation. So I will make sure to get a copy of that list to the trustees so you guys are aware of kind of what that rotation looks like.
I think we wanted to do Missisquoi, was it 2 years ago? We ended up only doing the extension because the rest of it wasn't super bad, so.
There's a crosswalk in Bethlehem.
Yeah, I think that's when we had to like scale back some
That
projects.
shows up.
Yeah, that was cool.
We didn't want to go taxpayers with that much.
That's Bethlehem, New Hampshire's crosswalk.
Oh, that's what I'm like, what am I looking at? There's a line.
Can you see the green?
Yes.
Now let me tell you, those puppies show up as you're driving down the street.
Huh.
I couldn't
Can't get
resist,
over
I
how
had to take a
people-
picture.
Like,
I made Raymond stop in the middle of the street.
can't get over how many people don't use the blinky lights.
Or
The one on Main
Just
Street.
Yeah.
simply jaywalk.
you
when
have to
they're, like,
educate them.
They're not far. They're a car width away from
Yeah.
from a crosswalk, and with little children, and they're making traffic stop.
I've seen a lot of people using the new one.
Yeah, in the morning there's a lot.
I don't
Yeah.
get down
Oh, good.
this way that often.
That pole
So
in front of
far
my
from
house, are they gonna put the speed sign back up there or not? If not, I'd like a sign that would say like, slow down.
Slow
The
down,
pole is
Leonard.
there.
Get the old man crossing sign.
Yeah, like watch for old people.
Speaking of
Jerry,
which, we should move
Yeah, those signs should be-
Pleasant.
We can, they've been there basically all summer.
Pleasant
before-
isn't,
before we
That
take
one
and it's
stinks.
facing the wrong way.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It
catch
should
your
either be
eye.
double-sided
It's on the
or
side of the
You
street.
need
should
only
face
100
the other
yards to
way.
the intersection.
Yep.
but I mean,
And it's on the wrong side of the street.
right.
You can, I mean, we can move them before you take
There's
it
one
down
on
for
water
winter.
tower right now, or?
No, there's so just, we don't have the anchor there, remember, because they blew that apart. We have to put the blanket, I believe we have to put the anchor back in.
Well, you wanna throw it back on water tower? I think now is gonna be the time where we're gonna get
Yeah.
some
Mm-hmm.
So
Comments.
Pleasant Street to Water Tower.
Pleasant to water.
And then we have one on Church.
Oh, that's right. That's
That's
where
been
the
there
other
pretty
one's
much all summer.
I would say move it to Orchard, but I don't think we need it there.
going. And we have speed bumps for the budget.
It's on the list.
That's on your list.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
For Pleasant?
I wonder where else.
Or a couple of other.
For every street in
Yeah, a
town.
couple of other streets ideas.
One right in front of my house.
Well, could we try this
With
sign on
spikes?
School Street?
Ah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
There's no residences there, well, from the intersection to, there's only one house. So,
From the school to.
just because we haven't gotten a lot of complaints doesn't mean they're not speeding right there.
What
Right.
about Depot? We seem to get a lot of traffic
Yeah.
stuff.
That's
complaints
been
there.
horrid lately. With the problems that are going on in the non-parking lot, they leave the parking lot and, I mean, they're like twirling right in front of
Do
the
you
hotel,
think
right
that
straight up the
would
street.
Cause them to kind of mess around even
might
more just to
instigate
see?
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the word I wanted.
I
See
don't
what
know.
kind of high score they can get.
Yeah. I
What about
mean,
speed bumps
That's what
on
I
Depot?
I probably would.
You gotta be able to read those numbers though.
Numbers are one thing, it's words that get them.
What have we gotta do to get security, like 6:30 to 8, 9 o'clock at night?
We need to win the municipality lottery to be able to start our own police department.
We'll put you on
Yeah,
first.
you'll be first constable. Get you a little nightstick.
Why can't we do a bond vote for that?
So,
Can we put a bump in front of my house?
I'll take one too.
get out there in the night when the traffic's low with a pickaxe and.
Would I have the right to put a cone in the middle of the street, 6:30 to 9? They come around that corner and they just, you know?
Wonder if we
And
put like
the
a
other-
barrel in the middle of the street.
The other day, there was a guy on a motorcycle on his back wheel in front of my house.
Stick an orange
Well,
barrel
that
in
goes
the
by
middle of the
my
street.
house
What
all
if
the
it's the same
time.
one going down 105 doing that?
Please
But
don't tell us
so I
that's
have
cop, because we don't
seen,
have
and
any.
No, that's right.
I think I might have brought it up in a meeting before, but they have like those they go in the middle of the road on the line, center line, and there's different languages you can have.
Some of
on
them are for crosswalks.
Some of them are for crosswalks, and they're designed to like go down if like somebody bumped into them, you know, so it wouldn't fly away or whatever. But I wonder if they could get a couple of those, especially at
Bless you.
major
Bless you.
crossing areas like around the school. I've seen a lot of near issues walking to schools. It's a cluster right there on School Street. The one up at by Leonard's house, like, and that would be
Oh, that crosswalk,
that
yeah.
would be traffic calming as well. So you get a couple of those. I can't remember how much. I looked them up a while ago. I don't remember.
Then they go right in the center and you have to go around them.
They're about
ballards, just
they're
like
about
the
like this
ballards
wide.
Yeah.
They're about this wide.
they
They're
kind of-
about
oh,
2.5
yes,
feet
yes.
Almost
tall.
obelisk shaped.
And it's got like a crosswalk sign with a guy
Yep.
on it.
Yeah, and again, you can get different languages for them, but if we got a couple of them in those strategic hotspots, it could slow traffic down and just be a little bit more mindful for the pedestrians in those locations. And would be a lot
Put
less
that on the
expensive than the
budget
crossing, what'd you say?
Get forward.
Put it on the budget list.
Yeah.
So have it on your capital project list for next week.
I'll s-
Our
and
next
I'll-
meeting.
About church's speed sign, what about West Berkshire? Cause that's a
Nobody up
35.
there cares about anything.
It's the only 35, and I don't wanna sound like everybody else in the village, but they do speed in front of my house too.
Oh, everybody that turns onto 108
I
is
tried
no
to do it,
longer
but I
in the
can't.
village at all. I've watched that for years. You can
Is
see
it
it.
35?
come down
I
there,
thought it was
it's
25 to,
It is, it's 25, and then it's 35, and
Yeah. Oh, no, it's one way or the other. As soon
But
as
just-
they hit
just
108, it's 50.
throw it out there until winter, I mean, it's only a month or whatever.
Sure. let's put it on
Just to show like that.
Yeah,
we
wait
are
a minute
keeping
here.
an eye
Do
on-
you wanna
we
have a
didn't
look
forget
at
about
this?
that street.
So Water Tower and West Berkshire.
Yeah, there's no base on either of those.
Unless the water tower one's so good.
I think it got ripped out.
Yeah, I think
I think they pulled it
yeah,
out.
they pulled it.
I'm pretty sure they have
It
a
was
whole
good. It
thing.
was
Yeah.
still good, but it got pulled.
Yeah, we'll do that. I don't know, bottom to dip. Or right before Shirley Dussault's
Now you want it coming out or in?
going out of
Out of
town.
town.
Well, actually, yeah, you're gonna want it visible from both sides, right?
Well, it's only one sided sign.
Right, but you turn them around. Use the same base for both directions.
I guess. It's still messed up when it's on the wrong side of the street.
So this is what I'm talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah.
and it's about $250. When I showed this somebody, it wouldn't say stop for pedestrians, but it would be
Slow.
like slow for
Should
pedestrians.
just be traffic.
Pedestrian.
One in front of my house is gonna say, stop your damn car.
But and then they fold down if they get hit, which they
Well,
should.
that's good, yeah,
But
yeah. Well, as long as they pop back up again, I guess that's okay.
So water tower's gonna go where it was.
Yep.
Where do you want Enosburg here?
I'd say going out of town for starters.
Yeah.
Because I think more people are speeding going out.
Right before Shirley's.
But on the water tower road, you're not gonna put it where the other one got run over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna get run over again.
Well, it shouldn't if
They
somebody
had to
stays
buy a
on the
windshield
road.
mirror, so I bet that's almost as much as a speed sign.
Put a camera on this one.
That's what we need is cameras.
Yeah, put it right by Shirley's. Let's try it.
Yeah, right.
You can always move the anchor.
Because the rest of it's all those
Oh,
big
perfect.
cattail looking grass
Right.
thing and guardrails, so.
Do what?
Heather just texted back to me, so we'll have it.
I'm sure that's not the place to buy it from. It's not the, but
No,
it's
it's
a
fine,
starting
give
point.
us a starting point.
I have no idea what they're
Just a
called.
visual.
Safe is who we get a lot of our stuff from, so if we are gonna do a big order, we could send one truck down and pick it all up.
I know, like, 'cause the school used to have sandwich board signs, and then the village, and now this is like 8-10 years ago, told them not to do that anymore. So they used to have they'd pull them
They
out
probably
every
didn't get their
morning.
sign permit.
Whatever, yeah. I don't know
I think
what
a
the
grant
origins
paid
of
for it.
that sandwich board permit thing came about. I don't know what drove them to make it
It's not really
but
enforced anymore, I don't think.
I don't know. Is it a zoning thing?
Zoning,
No,
that's just,
it
you have
is.
to get a permit for it, it is zoning.
I wonder if the bank has a permit. Is it community bank in
I think
either?
they
I bet they
do,
do, yeah.
I know
Because people
Bumblebee
wanted
was
to put
one
one
that he had to go
out,
talk
and
to.
I remember like people's wanted to have one. There's
John-
a permit issue.
John Dog put one out and somebody picked it up and put it inside his restaurant. They said, you need a permit for that.
All right, what else we got?
Just we're talking signs, I guess Jarvis is still working on getting the sign in front of people's, it's just a matter of when Scott.
I asked Sarah about it quite some time ago, and she said she knew that it was supposedly approved and that the bank had said absolutely yes, we would love it, and she said, and I've never heard another word.
This is the school sign.
Going to the People's
from-
Trust Company.
Yep.
Speaking
Yeah,
of electronic
Robert.
signs, oh, finish.
Robert talked to Scott. He said, yes, I'll come down and dig the hole. Just waiting on Scott to have time to do that.
Which will probably be a while.
Yeah.
He's got a bridge to do in Enosburg.
Now, what happened to the sign that was supposed to be put by the armory?
So we went for a grant for that and the village was not selected, it was a national grant. They didn't even read all the grant applications, they had so many people apply. So we're back to square one, trying to come up with another
It was too expensive anyway.
I still
funding.
don't think that was the right spot.
I haven't,
Yeah.
I don't know if the town's gonna pursue,
Do we know how things
Anything.
are with the building? Are they any closer?
I haven't talked to Jesse in forever about it, to be honest with you.
Or they haven't done anything?
Yeah, I didn't ask Jesse, but I asked Margot.
I mean, I saw Roy's son's working on the corner here, so it must be where the safe's going.
See?
Yeah, that was the big hold
The
up, was
land vault,
the big
for the
vault.
land records.
Yeah,
The state has
There's not
very,
a-
very strict requirements.
Isn't there a big safe in
They
the
can't use it,
they
it
can use
didn't
it.
meet the
Read
specs.
the code, say if they build a new one.
The state, that was one of their big holdups, the state wouldn't approve it to be used for land records.
Oh, yeah. From the fires.
It has to be so thick concrete, like there's very specific specifications that they have to abide by.
Okay. Other business?
Do I get a sign to put in front of my house?
No.
Slow down.
Old fart lives here.
What you gotta do is get yourself one of those signs that hangs over your shoulders and you stand out there. Then it's a mobile sign, you won't need a permit.
Oh,
You're so helpful.
All right, there's no other business tonight. I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second?
You have the first and the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That's unanimous.